So yesterday, RuneScape released this new video, and it is the future of combat is here. And it's a video that was made in collaboration with RuneScape and Edimus. He said his name in there, and I do not remember how you say it, but I subscribed to him because I want to follow more RuneScape 3 YouTube creators. But yeah, they released this video, and I'd like to kind of talk about it because there's a lot of really interesting stuff that they talked about in this combat modernization, and it's part of their road to restoration. It's one of the big steps that they talked about in restoring this game to its former glory, or at least moving it into a new era of RuneScape. So I'd like to talk about it, but before we jump into this video, I'd like to just look at the blog post that Jagex made and kind of look at this section here. What are the goals of this update? This part right here, and I'll make this bigger so that you can see it. So I think this sums up what this video is in a really, really great way, because the video kind of goes quickly through all the changes. It's a very well done video. That's not a criticism. The video is kind of just a little, here's just kind of real quick how we're going to change combat and modernize it. And then the blog post goes into a lot more detail. So if you kind of just want the headlines of what this is going to be, the video will be perfect. But if you do want to go into way more depth, and I'm talking way more depth, this is actually 2 blog posts. They had to split it into 2 blog posts. So if you want a lot more depth, you can check out their blog post on their website. I'm not going to go through the entire blog post. I'm mostly going to focus on the video, but I wanted to read through this because I think it's a really great synthesis of what this update is. And so it says, our goal is to modernize and unify the combat system so that melee, ranged, magic, and necromancy all operate within the same clear framework, scale naturally to level 120, and are approachable for new players without sacrificing the depth and mastery that high-level players value. Over time, combat has evolved unevenly. Necromancy was built with a modern foundation, clean systems, consistent rules, smooth gameplay loops, and clear progression. In comparison, melee, ranged, and magic have accumulated layers of legacy mechanics that can feel unintuitive, cluttered, or difficult to understand, particularly for newer or mid-level players. This update is about bringing all 4 combat styles into alignment. That means consistent scaling, clearer rules, and more readable progression across the board. Regardless of which style you choose, the underlying structure should feel cohesive and intuitive. The core philosophy is simple. Raise the floor without lowering the ceiling. Combat should be more welcoming, understandable, and satisfying from the outset, while still preserving the space for optimization, skill expression, and high-level strategy. That's the ambition. Below we'll break down how we're making it happen. So then they go on to, go into a lot more depth, 2 whole blog posts worth of depth, and it's a lot of very, very interesting information. Some of it is a little in the weeds for me. When it starts to get into the math and the statistics and the numbers, that's where they start to lose me. It's great information, don't get me wrong. I'm glad they're giving it because I know there are a lot of players who know all of those things and will see all of that stuff and go, oh, cool, cool, cool. But I see all the numbers and stuff and I go, okay, this is above my pay grade. But it's a lot of great information. I'm glad that they're sharing all of this. So if you want to know all of the really, really detailed information about this update, check out this blog post. I will leave a link to it in the description. So if you want to just check it out right after you watch my video, you can. I'll also leave a link to this video that I'm reacting to in the description. If you want to go watch that first and then come back to my reaction, you can. Or if you just want to watch it after, you can, whatever. I'll leave the link in the description. All right, let's see what this video has to say.
RuneScape's combat just got a huge update. The 3 classic combat styles of melee, magic, and range are being rebuilt from the ground up, with each style having a distinct identity and being able to be picked up easily from the very first time you cast an ability. We are going to cover everything in this video, from the brand new basic attack to the food adrenaline changes.
The food is a great change, and I'll talk about it more when we actually get to it, but the food thing is really, really cool. And I'm excited that they changed it. This looks really low quality. I don't think it's at full HD, so let me adjust that.
Combat has gotten a nice little facelift when it comes to the ability book. A lot of abilities have been stripped down or repurposed to make combat more simple, fluid, and also help bring down how many keybinds you're going to actually need when in combat.
Bringing down the keybinds, that's great, because one of the biggest, I would say, roadblocks for new players, when they look at the ability bars, you know, like if you watch a live stream of a high level RuneScape 3 player, and it's just ability bars just all the way across here, and it's just, the UI is insane. I think it's very intimidating, and I think a lot of people kind of, you know, write it off from there. They're kind of just like, this is not this is not for me. And honestly, like, I have people that are like, yeah, you should set up your ability bars like that to do bossing and stuff. And I'm like, no way, man. I don't want to do that. That is horrendous. I don't like that. So hopefully by cleaning up these abilities, you won't need to have as many ability bars open at once, and it won't just be like a wall of UI. But maybe not. We'll see. But hopefully that will fix it. And I don't know if they talk about it in this video. They talk about it in their blog post, but they actually have changed the way they sort abilities in the ability book, and they sort them by basic ability, enhanced abilities, ultimate abilities, and utility abilities. And so when you're actually looking in your ability book, instead of just sorting them in the order that they're unlocked by level, they sort them by what kind of ability they are. I don't know if that's something that you can change, like if that's just the default, or if you have to go in and change it, but in the blog post they did talk about that will be a sorting option, and I think that's really cool. I think that'll make it a lot easier for new players to understand what these abilities are, how you can use them, how they function in the gameplay loop, which is really what matters. New players understanding how to utilize these abilities, and, you know, it'll help us too. It'll help us kind of keep things, you know, kind of keep track of things in our ability book. So I don't know if they talk about that. I wanted to just mention that since he mentioned cleaning up the abilities and the ability book.
All combat styles now have basic attacks, reducing the number of abilities
basic
for building
attacks are
adrenaline
cool
to get into those harder hitting combos. Thresholds like
so basic attacks, super cool. Every combat style now has a basic attack. That is a great idea. Making Necromancy's basic attack a skill that you can have in your action bar that can be triggered in Revolution or triggered manually is a fantastic idea. And that's why they're doing it for all the other combat styles, to make all the combat styles feel the same. And they talk about in their blog post how the auto attack felt very unintuitive. It felt like something that just kind of happened in the background. A lot of players didn't even know how to interact with it or knew how it was working because it was all just in the background. And so when Necromancy had its basic attack as something you could see in your ability bar, and you could even move around or even trigger it automatically if you really wanted to, it really made it more part of the strategy. It made it something that players were aware of. It just was a great change, and I'm glad they're doing it with this. And they talk about it more later, but Magic's basic attack is really cool. It has a really cool function, but he talks about it later, so I'll wait until then to talk about that.
Thresholds like Melee's Assault or Range's Rapid Fire no longer require 50% adrenaline to cast, and these are now called enhanced abilities.
So they don't give a specific number for this. They say that the threshold abilities are no longer at 50%, but they don't give like a new number. And in the blog post, they seemed to imply, they might have just said it outright and I just didn't understand. My media literacy might be low, but they seem to imply that each ability will kind of have a different adrenaline level required to activate it. They're not all just at 50%, but I'm not quite sure on that. I think maybe I just didn't really understand their post. But yeah, the thresholds not at 50%. They all have different percentage requirements of adrenaline.
A lot of abilities have also received a pretty strong rework, like Hurricane, with the cooldown being reduced by 3 seconds for each target that is hit, as well as Rapid Fire receiving the ability to move and shoot at the same time.
This is cool. I think they are going to talk about this again later, but Rapid Fire, being able to move around while Rapid Fire is active, is a great change. It's going to make bossing with ranged, like they're showing here, a lot better, but just giving the player more freedom, I think, is in most cases a good thing. So I like this change. It's really cool.
Really feeding into that mobile ranger archetype. Food has seen a nice little rework as well. It will now heal you the full amount of the tier of food that you eat and will now only cost 3% adrenaline to eat. This is
less adrenaline to eat, and then the biggest thing, actually healing you what it says in the stats. So at first I didn't quite understand what they meant, but like if it says that the monkfish heals 1600, it'll heal 1600 no matter what your constitution level is. The way it worked before, if you don't know, your constitution level partially decided how much food would heal you. So all food had kind of like for monkfish example, it could heal you at most 1600. But if you had a constitution level of 1, no way was it healing you 1600. It just was not happening because your constitution level, the higher it was, the more food would heal you. But the problem with that was, if I got some GP, right? If I raised the GP to buy some sharks, and I buy some sharks from the Grand Exchange, and I use them, they would not give you, if my constitution level wasn't high enough, they would not give me the highest level of heal. So they're not really benefiting me as much as they should. But now they've changed that. All food will heal you at their max level, and it consumes less adrenaline. That's a great change. That is one of the changes that I'm most excited about.
Brand new UI tutorials have been added in for melee, range, and magic. These are fantastic and they show you when you unlock a new ability and detail what that ability does and tell you how you could get the best out of it in combat.
So this is interesting because Necromancy has this, right? And I will say, once you kind of get past the earliest levels of Necromancy, when these pop up, it's not that bad. You know, you're kind of like, oh, okay, cool, I unlocked a new ability, here's what it does. To me, at the very beginning of Necromancy, these things popping up all the time were really annoying. And maybe that's because I already knew all of this stuff. Like the second and third time I went through Necromancy, maybe it's because I already knew all this stuff, so I was kind of just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. But it just feels like it's just every 2 seconds. And then when you already know what to do and you're trying to just do it on your own, it's like, no, 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 don't do that, don't do that. Do this, click over here. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I know how to do that. But they're assuming you don't if you're playing on a new character because you're a new character. You know, obviously this is good for the sense of like, you know, new players need to know what they're doing. New players need to know what these abilities do. And on that note, this is good. But I hope that this is not overwhelming to new players, giving them way too much information all at once at the beginning and making it kind of like a negative experience. That's what I hope doesn't happen here. I hope that it's giving the information and new players can kind of keep up with what these abilities do, but it's not overloading them with information all at the beginning. But I'll kind of have to see it for myself, I think. So I might make a new account just so I can see how this goes. Just because this could be good for new players, it could also be very annoying.
Range, melee, and magic are now going to be pushed up to level 120 to scale appropriately alongside Necromancy. Skill capes are also getting...
So this is great. Not the skill cape perks. I mean, that's cool. Adding skill cape perks is cool, but raising all combat to 120 is great because I'm a huge advocate for raising all the skills eventually to 120 because, you know, it gives us more game. I love this game, so raising the max skill levels to 120 means that there's more game to play and there's more challenges to do and there's more skilling to do. So, you know, that's what this game is like about, is leveling up your skills. So raising everything to 120 gives you more RuneScape to play. And to me, that's a good thing. I like RuneScape. The cape perks, they haven't really talked about it yet, but basically each master cape has specific perks to that combat ability that it'll give you, including strength. And they say in their blog post that they wanted to strike this balance between like enough of a perk that it makes you feel like you earned something from putting in all that effort to train, but not so much of a perk that it felt like a prerequisite to bossing. Like it became so good that people were like, well, you really need to get it to 120 and then start bossing. They were like, they didn't want it to be like that. They didn't want it to feel like you had to get it to make everything else worth it, but that when you did get it, it felt like you really earned something for all your effort. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really cool. I'm gonna have to see how it feels in person. I've never gotten to max combat in any of my accounts, so I have a long way to go, but I will be interested to see how these perks feel in-game, how they actually feel. I'm a vibes guy, as I've said before, so a lot of times I need to feel it for myself, so I am interested to see how these feel in-game.
Also coming in this update are brand new combat animations. A lot of these have been brushed up for the new modernization of combat, making that experience even more smooth. And after about 10 years of using the old animations, it doesn't hurt to have a little touch up.
That's cool. So like, I love that we're doing new animations, because I'm so on board for moving into a new visual era of RuneScape, and we're already kind of doing that. They're doing a lot of visual graphical overhauls. We're getting a new character model this year, so we're doing that. So I'm on board for updating the visuals of the game, and like he said, the visuals are real, the animations are really old, so updating them is a great idea. I'm on board for it. Obviously, I'm not going to say right here and now that they're good animations. These look good, but you know, I haven't seen all of them, so I'll need to see them. But I'm sure they're good. I'm sure they're good. I think it would have to it would take a lot for them to mess up the animations. So I have high hopes that the new animations will be good, but I do want to see them in person. But I'm all for the idea of updating them.
What if you could make your abilities deal even more damage? Let me explain the Bloodlust mechanic. Using Fury or Rend, you will begin to generate Bloodlust stacks. Gaining maximum stacks allows you to empower a number of your melee abilities. You can assault your enemy, dealing additional bonus damage.
So Bloodlust seems like it's like the necrosis stacks in necromancy, but for melee, which I think is pretty cool. I like the necrosis mechanic in necromancy, and I think that that's a really interesting thing to add to melee. And he said that you can make your character more like a glass cannon with this update, which that's speaking my language. That's my kind of build that I like to make, is a glass cannon build. So if that's true, then well, huge if true, huge if true. But I think Bloodlust is an interesting thing. Again, I'm a vibes man, right? I'll have to see how it actually feels when I play with Bloodlust, but if it's anything like necrosis stacks, I think it'll be cool, because I like the necrosis system, so I'm on board for it.
And this update really expands on that. Meet Gale Shot. Gale Shot will deliver...
So this is the basic attack for ranged. He kind of goes by this pretty quick, but I want to read it. Fire an infused shot at the target, empowering yourself with Searing Winds. It does 1585 to 1937, 90% to 110% range damage. Applies Searing Winds to self, 6-second duration, generates 9% adrenaline. Searing Winds, range attacks deal an additional 352 or 20% bonus damage with each hit. So that's pretty cool. So it's like a building thing. Like the more you do it, like Searing Winds will increase the amount of damage you do. And I wonder if it, like what I just said, I wonder if it really is building, like if it builds on itself and does more and more maybe up to this amount right here. But it's interesting. Again, like I said, I love the basic attack change that they're giving every a combat ability basic attacks. So that's really cool. But again, I need to see how this feels in game. But I like the idea. I like it.
You can now move and shoot with rapid fire, being able to dish out big DPS while maneuvering.
That's cool. I talked about it earlier. Being able to move while doing rapid fire, amazing, incredible.
Battlefield has never felt so good. Ranged is now your mobile DPS cannon. With this update, it'll be easier than ever for anyone trying out.
Don't. Mobile DPS cannon. Again, you're speaking my language, man. That I love the DPS. I love the glass cannon build of just running in and just boom, 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 wiping them out. That's what I love doing. Wiping them out. And so the more they say that, the more I'm like, yes, I love it.
Magic has seen a gigantic overhaul in the combat update, and let's get right into it. Every combat style now has a basic attack, but for Magic, your spell...
All right, let's read this too. We read the ranged one. We didn't read the melee one, but we read the ranged one. The basic attack. Attack the target. Great, good. Thank you. 1,175 to 1,436. 90% to 110% magic damage, generates 9% adrenaline, automatically triggered during combat. So not as much to say as the ranged one, but there is something really cool about this basic attack that I think he's about to say. So I can't wait to talk about that.
Will also count as your basic attack. If you have Fire Blast selected as your spell and you cast basic attack, that will be the spell that is released when you use your attack. This effect is more important as you unlock ancient magics, because when you unlock and use ancient spells, their effects like healing or stunning a target will be applied on your basic attack.
So I don't know if you caught that, but whatever spell you have selected, that will be triggered when you do your basic attack. So instead of putting a spell in your rotation, just select a spell in your book and then put basic attack in your action bar, and that spell will be selected. This becomes even cooler when you think about what he just said. When you unlock Ancients, the Ancient spell book, you can connect one of the Ancient spells to your basic attack, which means every time you do your basic attack, it will have the effects of that Ancient spell, or whatever spell you use. It'll have the effect of that spell every time you do your basic attack. That is cool. That is really cool. And it makes sense, right? Because, you know, Magic in old school or in 2007 Scape used to just be the spell book. That's what it was. You would cast a spell. And then we added abilities in Magic, and then to me, abilities and spells kind of felt disconnected, you know, in a weird way. Spells almost felt like an old version of this skill that it was still used, but just, I don't know, not as much, you know what I mean? Or like the two things felt very different, like two different things. Well, now, with this change, the fact that you can tie in a spell as your basic attack, I love that. It brings spells back in a really interesting way, and it adds them to your ability rotation in a way that really feels cohesive with the rest of the combat ability. So I really, really like that change. I'm really excited about that.
Magic in the early game is extremely strong, as well as being pretty easy to pick up. Magic's always been a personal favorite of mine. I would highly recommend Magic for any new or mid-level player trying to get a feel for RuneScape's combat system.
I'm the same way. Magic, until Necromancy came out, Magic was my favorite combat ability. And hopefully, this will kind of bring me back to that, because I've mostly just been playing Necromancy, which I think a lot of people have been doing that because Necromancy felt the best after it came out. And that's why they're doing this, right? Because like they say in their blog post, Necromancy was built with a modern framework in mind, a modern foundation in mind, and it didn't have 20 years of bloat added onto it, right? So it was leaner, it was easier to understand, and it had a bunch of new systems that were way more intuitive. So they're kind of bringing these legacy combat styles more into line with what worked with Necromancy. And when they do that, I'm going to be trying out all of them, but I'm definitely going to be trying out Magic because I love Magic.
And that is it for RuneScape's combat modernization. If you'd like to get more details, be sure to check out the blog post posted on RuneScape.com. It'll be posted in the pinned comment of this video, or...
Yeah, so that's it. I didn't talk about everything, so I would definitely watch this video, link in the description. Go read the blog post if you want even more information. Because like I said, this video, it's 6 minutes long, so it goes through a lot, but it goes through everything kind of quickly. It doesn't really dive super deep into everything. The blog post, like I said, it dives really deep into everything. So, yeah, the blog post is linked in my description, as well as this video, which was really well done. Overall, I'm excited about this. I do think combat has felt a little not bad to me. Maybe to some people it has, but it's felt a little off, and then Necromancy coming out really highlighted that, right? Because Necromancy was, like I said, so lean, so well optimized, so intuitive, easier to understand and pick up, and it didn't have the 20 plus years of bloat added onto it, right? It didn't have so much just stuff that wasn't relevant anymore or confused things, or, you know, it was just so nice. And so Necromancy coming out really highlighted how much these other combat skills really needed to be tweaked. And they did a little bit of tweaking, just like a tiny bit of tweaking after Necromancy came out. Because when Necromancy came out, it was OP compared to the other combat styles. And they did tweak it, and I think they buffed the other combat styles. I don't think they nerfed Necromancy. You can correct me in the comments if that's not true. But from what I think I remember, I think they buffed the other combat styles to kind of bring them up to Necromancy's level a little bit more. But this just fundamentally changes the foundation that the combat styles are on, and I think that's really cool. I'm excited to see how this feels. Again, like I said, I'm a vibes guy, and I haven't actually played these new updates. I wanted to talk about them and get a video out of my opinion of these updates on paper. But I haven't played it yet, but I'm excited to play it. I'm excited to feel what this combat feels like, and hopefully this makes all the combat styles more fun to play, because when Necromancy came out, really, it was hard to go back and forth. It was hard to play Necromancy and then go back to Melee. You'd kind of be like, oh man, I want to get back to Necromancy. But hopefully this makes them more fun to play. It makes them more intuitive. It makes them easier to digest for new players. And yeah, overall, I'm really excited to see how this feels. There's a lot of stuff that really kind of not goes over my head in the sense of I don't understand it, but it goes over my head in the sense that I don't really care once it gets into like the numbers and stuff. I know I probably should, but I don't know. Once it gets into like this is, it does this % damage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of like, I need to see like I've said so many times, I need to feel it. You can tell me, oh, it does 90% damage or whatever. I need to feel what that feels like. I need to feel it in my rotation and see and like actually feel what that feels like to use. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I see. So there's a lot of stuff I didn't talk about in this video, not because I didn't like it, but just because I didn't have anything to say. So I didn't want to make up something to say just so I could talk about everything in the video. So definitely watch this video. Definitely read the blog post, because it has a lot of great information about this update. And yeah, I'm excited. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all of you. If you like this update, let me know. What do you think about this update? Are you excited about where combat is heading in RuneScape? Are you not excited? Do you not like what they talked about in this? Is there something they changed that you were like, oh no, why did they change this? That's gonna be worse. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you neutral? Do you not care? Do you watch this and you're like, you know what? I don't care. None of this really speaks to me. None of it makes me more excited. It's just whatever. I also want to know that. Why doesn't it affect you? Why do you not care? I want to know your opinions down below in the comments. I love discussing RuneScape with everybody, so let's start a discussion. If you like this video, please leave a like. It really helps with the algorithm, lets them know that you like my stuff, and it boosts my video, shows it to other people, so please leave a like. I would really appreciate it. If you want to see me argue why I don't think we should get rid of RuneScape and just make old school RuneScape the main game or the one and only game, check out this video.